We'll start by introducing the Webmardi, who is the association and what we do, and how we do what we do. And then I will let Igor speak for everyone, and we'll have an apéro after that. The Webmardi is made by those persons. Without them, it would be impossible to create those events. So thank you to everyone. I will just introduce some of them, except me. Nelson, he's at the streaming tonight. It's quite difficult to do streaming with the Webmardi, so thank you, Nelson, for all the work you do for us. We have Margot. You saw her at the beginning, I think. She say welcome to everybody and checking you with her wife, Alexia. Asia, she will take pictures tonight. She's not already here, I think. I don't know, I don't see her. We take pictures. If you don't want to be on those pictures, just ping us somewhere, send us a mail, whatever you want. We can remove every picture where you are from, or we can just blur your face if it's needed. We have Uli that's helped Nelson to the streaming tonight. Sebastian that's not here with us. He's creating the communication for the Webmardi, so he wrote every tweet. You saw every Instagrams. You saw, it's a lot of work for us. Myself and Geoffroy was not here tonight, but I'm sure he thinks about us. The Webmardi is sponsored by many people that give us money most of all. Without this money, it would be impossible to buy for you those beers or all those chips we give you for free. So thank you for Leap, Superhuman, Idora, IGE, l'achat IGVD, Infomaniac, CPNV, JobTrek, and Tipeee. Vous pouvez voir, you can see on the screens that some are main sponsors. They give more money than others. That's what it means. If you want to be on those slides, it will be a pleasure to talk with you after the event, or maybe by mail, or whatever you want. Thank you to 42 Lausanne to host us tonight. Without them, we don't pay for the places, never. So thank you very much for this place. Thank you for the catering, the place for the catering. Thank you for the material, everything. And it's the third time we do an event here, and every time it's awesome, so I'm sure tonight will be a blast. The toilets. The toilets are on this corridor on the left for boys and girls. It's correct? So, yeah. Those people know currently better than me. So on the left here, we can find the toilets. There is one for women and one for boys, I think, yeah? It's not a mixed one. Yeah. Hello, Asia. Another slide. So we take pictures. Thank you for Asia for these pictures. Again, if you don't want to be on this picture, really, it's very important to us to feel okay to just write us an email to say, I don't want to be on the pictures. Please say it before we publish those pictures, because it's harder to remove those pictures after that. That's it for me. So please welcome Igor for his talk for tonight.
Oh, don't have it anymore. What happened? Okay. There you go. Oops, spoilers. Close your eyes. Oh, okay. There we go. All right, so this is pretty much a lot out of my comfort zone. I haven't given a talk like in 5 years, and the last time I gave it was pretty bad. I was pretty nervous. So I'm also nervous today, but the good part is that I'm talking about something that really excites me. I've been diving deep into this subject for the whole year or so now, and so I can't wait to share this with you guys. All right, so who has heard or read about Local First before? Please raise your hand. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe like 1/4. What about sync engines? Who has heard or read about them? 2 people, 3 people, okay. That's gonna be interesting. So who has maybe worked on a web app that uses a sync engine? None, okay, that's good, that's perfect, because I made this talk to be for people that haven't used it. All right, so my talk is about web development. But before getting technical, I want to talk to you a bit about designing interfaces. In 2018, Apple presented a talk that had a great impact on me. In this talk, they shared the techniques they use on the iPhone to make it feel intuitive and natural. To make it feel like a tool you're using is an extension of your mind. Think of real-world tools like a hammer or a fork. When you're handling them, we don't think of them in the same way we don't think of our arm when we're waving it to somebody. Now imagine if when you would move a hammer, somehow there was a variable delay between the moment you start moving your arm and the moment the hammer would actually start moving. You would start to feel conscious about the hammer. It wouldn't feel anymore like an extension of yourself, but something you have to wrestle with. If you have experienced lag on a fast-paced multiplayer game, you know how upsetting that feels. This is why input latency is key for making your app feel intuitive. The more responsive your app is, the more intuitive it will be. It will feel like riding a bicycle or driving a car. You don't think about the bicycle when you're riding it. You don't think about the car when you're turning the wheel. There are other things that go into making your interface intuitive that I won't go into. But if you haven't watched the talk, I highly recommend it. You can find on the apple.com website, just look for designing for interfaces. All right, let's go back to web apps now. I want to show you some common web apps you're probably already familiar with for us to analyze them, with the first one being Jira. For those who don't know, it's pretty much a project management tool. You have here some issues that developers have to solve. You can mark them as done, and this is a Kanban board on I forgot the other app from Atlassian. But anyway, let's pay attention to the fluidity of the app. Can you see all the loading states as we navigate to the app? So I close here the window, and I'm going to create a new issue here. Create it. Here's a delay, 1, 2, 3 seconds to show up that new issue. If I navigate, there's almost always a loading state. I don't know about you guys, but this feels really annoyingly slow to me. It definitely doesn't feel like an extension of your mind when I'm using it, especially the variance in delay. It might take 1 or more seconds. It's like you're stuck and you're trying just to do the work, but you can't do it. Okay, let's check out Spotify. Let's see how fast it is. Well, it's definitely faster. I won't say instant, but not very slow either. Let's try to slow down the internet. Okay, and now navigate there. Well, not so fast anymore. We're now seeing some loading states. We have to wait, and then show up. Let's try to cut off the internet altogether. Okay, go to my songs. Well, looks like I can't fully access my music library anymore. Why is that? I've saved those songs. I should still be able to access them, right? Let's come back to Jira and see what happens if I cut the internet connection. Okay, I open the issue. Yeah, it breaks, not great. Let's bring back the internet connection and see how it handles collaboration. In large teams, there may be multiple people interacting with the same content. Let's see how it handles that. So I'm going to have a window on the left and a window on the right to simulate 2 users. And then I'm going to add a comment on the left and see if it shows up on the right. Nope, nothing happens. I would have to refresh the page to actually see that comment. Let's try something else. I'm going to delete the issue we have on the left, and then I'm going to add that comment there. Okay, delete the issue, adding the comment. Of course, an error. It's normal. I deleted the issue on the left. I can't add that comment to an issue that was deleted. But the issue here is that since we didn't have the update coming on the other window, the user on the right didn't know that the issue was deleted. So he was writing the comment, doing some work that at the end was unnecessary. If he had the information already that the issue was deleted, he wouldn't be wasting time there. And so this outdated state that we had on the right makes us more likely to encounter errors due to the conflicts. This creates confusion for the user. My goal isn't to mock Jira or Spotify. These issues aren't unique to them. This is actually standard for most web apps developed nowadays. Okay, let's now check a different set of web apps. These are built on top of a different kind of architecture. The first one we have here is linear. So think of it as a modern replacement to Jira. Notice how fast every interaction is. I click on a page, it opens automatically. I'm adding here a new issue. It also shows up instantly. I can go to the other page, no loading state at all. Everything feels instant. Okay, let's check out another one. This is Base Hub. It's pretty much a new CMS. On the left window, we have a blog with a table below for posts. And then on the right window, we have just a post table, the same table that we have on the left, but just expanded. Let's see how it handles multiple users collaborate on the same data. I'm going first to create a new blog post here, and let's see if it shows up directly on the right. Okay, created there, it shows up right away. Let's open that, let's add a subtitle, and you can see it being written in real time over there. Okay, let's try now to cut off the internet connection. Okay, going offline, then we go back to the previous page, everything still works. Let's edit the blog title. Yep, all good. And actually even synchronize to the other tab, because we're on the same network, which is pretty cool. But if you're, of course, on another computer, it wouldn't be showing up. It will only show up when the user comes back with the internet. OK, what were the things that were different from the last two apps, so Base Hub and Linear, compared to the first ones? For one, interactions were instant. When we navigate to another page, there was no loading screen. If we added a new item, it showed up instantly. We didn't have to wait on a loading state. Second, changes were synchronized between users automatically and in real time. There was no need to press refresh to get the latest changes. And finally, the apps continue to work even when we cut off the internet connection. All of these really make a difference on the user experience. They add fluidity to the app by making it fast and reducing interruptions. They make you trust and feel more confident when you're using the app. If you use such an app often enough, it will even start fading to the background of your mind so that you can fully focus on the work at hand. It won't get in your way, and it won't feel like something you have to wrestle with. Now, let's say we want to add each of these capabilities to web apps such as Jira or Spotify. Think of your single-page application built with React, Angular, or Vue.js, really doesn't matter, and also a REST API. This application generally follow this type of architecture. We need to display some data, so we request it from the server, we waited for it to come back, for it to arrive, and then we display it on the UI. We also generally cache the response of this query in the browser to make subsequent requests faster. Okay, so how we can add these to such type of app? Let's focus first on instant interactions. Say you want to provide a user interface without loading states. What was the underlying issue with the first kind of apps? Why did they display a loading state after most interaction? Because they had to wait on the network. An action that depends on the network can only be so fast. Even in the best condition, we are limited by the speed of light, which won't be fast enough depending on the location of the server, which is a bit surprising. But yeah, if you have a server that's in the US and you're accessing that server from here, the latency, I believe, would be maybe 30 milliseconds, which is noticeable for a user. So how could we avoid to wait on the network when we perform an action? Well, if you're already caching some of the data, we could update that cached data right away when the user performs an action so they don't have to wait on the network. Sounds like a solution, right? Let's explore that. OK, so most web apps handle data fetching by using a library that provides an API similar to this one. That isn't a real one, it's just pseudocode. But you have here on the two first lines, we fetch the data for the to-dos, so server.getTodos, and then we cache it on the browser under what we call a cache key. So that to-do string is a cache key. Second one does the same thing, but for reminders. And we also have a mutation function generally that you can use to update the data on the server. So here we have a one that we create for adding to-do. OK. The issue with these ones is that by default, they don't provide an instant experience, because the application has to wait on the server response for completing the mutation, as you can see on the right. So add the dishes, you can see a loading state there, and then the dishes to-do shows up. Let's then change this code to add something known as optimistic updates. All right. Now, if we assume the mutation will succeed on the server, we can then optimistically update the cached data locally so that it shows the expected result of that mutation right away. If somehow the request to the server fails, we can then roll back to the previous state. We can see, so here, if you see the code, we have the add to-do mutation we created before, and we have two handlers. So we have the onMutate, which is triggered as soon as we call that last line here, so add to-do for adding the dishes. This is triggered, and then we manually go into the cache that we have on the browser, we update the to-dos, and then we also update the reminders to add that new to-do and reminder. And if there is an error, we just like revert to the previous state that we had just before adding that to-do. The mutation will now be instantly. As you can see on the screen, we add the dishes, it shows up instantly. However, to implement this, we have to know every place that will be affected by the mutation so that we can update the cache data accordingly. So here, as you can see, I had to know that there was some data related to those in reminders as well to update that cache. Also, when a new query is added, we also have to remember to update all related mutations. So if maybe in the app, we have a new query that depends on that to-do mutation, we also have to remember to come back to this part of the code and also update that cache there. In short, we need to micromanage the cache data. Keeping track of all of these changes can be manageable for a simple app, but the more your app evolves, and especially if you have more people working on the same app, the more error-prone this becomes. As an example, let's say we had forgotten to also update the reminders query. Well, now the reminder we just added is missing from the list on the right. That list is inconsistent with the reminder we see on the to-do list. So you can see I add a dishes to do, I give a reminder. We see here on the list on the left, where we're not seeing now anymore on the upcoming reminder. You could use a normalized cache to alleviate this problem. If you use maybe Apollo or Relay or even Oracle, or even Normie with 10 stacks query, those are normalized cache. They help with that, but they don't fully resolve the issue. And they come with the pitfalls of their own that vary depending on the library you use. All right. OK. We now have an idea on how we could add support for instant interaction to a traditional web app, although with some caveats. What about real-time synchronization? How can we add support for it? Well, we could add WebSockets to our application and receive updates from the server in real time. But as soon as you do that, you now have to deal with concurrency. And who says concurrency says race condition. If you ever dealt with concurrency issues, you know how hard they are to solve, especially very hard to figure out where they're coming from. Ideally, you would solve them once and not every time you add a new feature to your app. What about offline support? How can we make our app still work if the user loses connection? The first step, I would say, would be to use a service worker so we can persist static content such as HTML and JavaScript file so they can still be accessed while we're offline. What about mutations? How can we still allow the user to keep making changes to their data when they're offline? So while offline, we could queue the mutations the user makes and send them later to the server once we're back online. However, the longer the user remains offline, the greater the chances that their mutation will conflict with those made by another user. If we do not handle this conflict properly, it could result in losing the work the user completed while offline. So here we have a case where I'm completing two to-dos, but one of the to-dos was actually deleted. It's similar to the issue we saw with Jira when we had on the left window, we deleted the issue, and then the right window, we added a comment. This conflict needs to be handled. If we don't do that, there may be data loss, and so the user that was doing a lot of work offline could lose all the work that they have done it. So this is only one of the many challenges you would encounter while adding support for offline mode. There are ways to get around to all of these issues if you try hard enough. But the problem is that with a traditional web app architecture, you're adding most of these capabilities on a case-by-case for every feature over and over again. They aren't the default behavior of this architecture. Developers must put in the effort to add and maintain them. In practice, more often than not, they don't get added due to that. That's why you so rarely see web apps with these three capabilities widely implemented. Ideally, your architecture would provide this as default and not as something you have to add and maintain for every feature. You also might not have realized it, but the problems I've shared are actually problems that databases solve. Data consistency, concurrency control, conflict resolution. These are all typical database concerns. They were built to solve these problems. While the sync engine will take care of keeping that database up to date with the server in the background. This is similar to the innovation popularized by React to web development. Before React, during the time of jQuery, if you were there, you had to manually update the DOM imperatively. So you would document get element by ID and then update inner text, update the thing by yourself. If a user deleted to do, you had to find the DOM element and then delete it manually. With React, you describe the UI declaratively, and when you update some state, React automatically updates the UI for you. Similarly, with a sync engine, when you update the state, you don't need anymore to manually go update that state on the server. The sync engine does that for you automatically and asynchronously on the background. It makes the reactivity that was before only limited to the UI now go all the way to the server. It gives you full stack reactivity, which is way less error prone than requiring you to manage this yourself. So a key benefit that comes from this is that you don't have to wait anymore on the network when the user makes a change. The change gets applied locally and instantly to your local database. And the sync engine will then send it to the server in the background for you. This is why you get instant interaction with it. Since the sync engine is also like automatically putting changes from the server at all time, we also get real-time data synchronization between multiple users. No need to press refresh manually. This also helps you build multiplayer experience like the one you see like on Figma or Google Docs, where you see like multiple people interacting with the same content at the same time. If the internet goes down, isn't a problem. Like you can continue writing to your local database, and when you're back online, the sync engine will automatically send the changes to the server. Those are the user-facing benefits that we saw already early on in the presentation. However, there are also engineering benefits that come with it. For one, you're able to improve developer productivity. Since the network layer is now managed by the sync engine, in most cases, you don't need to implement data loading and error handling logic for your features. Also, because you now rely on a local database in the browser, you can prototype features locally without a server. So you can go way further into building the whole app, almost the whole app, just with the browser without having like to communicate with a backend pretty much. And finally, a sync engine requires significantly fewer resources on the server than a traditional web app architecture. In a traditional architecture, you're pretty much loading data on every page load, even though you might already have requested that data before. While with a sync engine, you're only getting incremental changes in data from the server. This is a lot less heavy on the server. And you might not know, but you're probably already using a product that uses a sync engine. Most notably, multiplayer video games. Without sync engines, fast-pacing games such like a first-person shooter wouldn't be possible due to network latency. Imagine every time you would press like a button to move, like the gun, it would have like a loading state, and it would be just impossible. On the web, you most commonly find like sync engines on productivity tools, which are like a great fit for them since they are very like interactive. You're like adding content, you're changing stuff, so it's really a good fit. That said, sync engines are still rarely used when developing web apps, which makes you wonder why, considering all the benefits we just saw. The reality is that it still isn't so easy to adopt a sync engine. There are many challenges, with some that are due to the constraints of the web. For instance, you might have too much data for the user to download everything when they uploads. So you may need to synchronize only part of the whole data set. How you do that? Or you may want to update the scheme of the database that lives in each user's browser. How can you make sure to update the database for each user without creating conflicts? Schema migration are already hard for like a single server. Imagine now if you have to do it for every single user, and that may be offline for days or weeks. You also may need to keep local queries fast enough so that interaction feel instant to the user. Even though you don't need to wait for the network anymore, because we're storing that data on the browser, if your data is stored like on a persistent support like IndexedDB, this is usually not fast enough. This means you have to keep that data in memory as well, but then you're limited by how much memory a browser tab can allocate. I don't want to mislead you guys. Dealing with these challenges isn't easy. This is why most successful cases invested significant time early in their product development to build their custom sync engine. However, once you have a working sync engine, it unlocks a lot of power, and you can actually develop features faster than without one. Fortunately for the rest of us who don't have the resources to build our own sync engine, there are many amazing engineers and a company working hard to make it that easier for us. Maybe a bit too many. If you're feeling already a bit anxiety due to all of these choices, I totally feel. I was feeling from trying to, which one is like the right one that I have to choose. But don't panic. It's totally normal for a new space to have an explosion of different solutions. You can see this as well happening in the AI space. With time, the developer community will probably converge on a few solutions, as we all gain a better understanding of the problems and their solution. That said, there is a lot to gain by being an early adopter. If you really care about providing a great experience to your user, and you're building a highly interactive product, I would definitely recommend considering adopting a sync engine. Depending on your product, having one will definitely make a difference. You just have to look at Figma and linear if you want proof of that. Their sync engine really made a difference on their success so far. At this point, you might be wondering why I haven't mentioned local first at all. Despite it being in the title of the talk, what does local first even mean? Is an app with a sync engine a local first app? Well, not necessarily. Let me explain. Local first is a vision for a new kind of app that brings benefits that go beyond just the one provided by a sync engine. The term was coined by the Ink and Switch lab, which maybe you guys can see there, on an article like they published in 2019 that described 7 ideals for local first software. A sync engine helps you fulfill some of these ideals, but isn't sufficient on its own. Pretty much the 4 that we have in the beginning, a sync engine help you get those at least. If you want your app to be truly local first though, your users should still be able to continue using your app if you go out of business and shut down your server. You can think maybe of like a game when you bought a game like before, when maybe on Nintendo, you bought the game, and there was no subscription, you buy it, if the company now doesn't exist anymore, you still have the game, you can still play with it. But with something like Jira, if the company behind Jira goes down, you can't use Jira anymore. And so those are like ideals that the local first kind of movement want to bring for web apps, or even not web apps, not only limited to web apps, but for new apps that we build. We're still not there, because this isn't something easy to achieve with the currently available technology. But it's still something worth aiming for in the long run. So to sum up, if local first is the future where we want to go, sync engines are the first step towards it. I want to highlight one of the tools that is working on making local first a reality for the web. This tool is LiveStore. It's an open source library that provides you with a database in the browser, along with a sync engine. Johannes Schickling, who you might know from co-founding the Prisma ORM, if you guys use TypeScript on the backend, initially created LiveStore to power a music app he's been building after being frustrated by the poor UX of existing apps. He wanted to provide an instant and native feeling to his music apps, and in the process, he created LiveStore to help him achieve that. So here's just like a quick demo of that music app just to show you the speed LiveStore is capable of. Imagine if you could use like Spotify with that speed. One of the things that attracted me to LiveStore is its modularity. Many of the local first tools that I showed, like on our previous slide, prescribe like a specific database for you to use in your server. This isn't ideal for an existing app. LiveStore is more flexible as it is agnostic to the backend you choose. So it could work like with an existing server infrastructure we already have. It's currently available for early access by sponsoring the project on GitHub, and I also myself recently decided to join the project as a contributor. If this talk sparked your curiosity and you would like to learn more about sync engines and local first, I highly recommend listening to the Local First podcast. This podcast helped me a lot in my journey to learn about them. You can feel free to scan it now or later to access it. Otherwise, if you're considering adopting a sync engine for a product you're building, or you just want to talk about local first and sync engine, I'll be happy to help you navigate all the possible solutions. If you don't find the time to chat after the talk, feel free to hit me up on X or by email. Thank you.
Thank you, Igor, for your awesome talk. We will have some round of questions now. You can ask it in French if you prefer to ask it in French. Obviously, we will translate it just for the streaming. This microphone don't do any sound. This is just for the records, okay? Does anyone want to try?
Yes. Thank you very much. Very interesting. How much space can we use in the browser for storing all those data? Is it using the browser local storage, or is it another storage?
So it depends. So you have multiple ways that you can persist data in the browser. One way that is popular is like IndexedDB, which is a database that doesn't have like a good reputation because they have like a very old API. And that's not very fast to access, but you have a certain amount of storage that you can pretty much store in IndexedDB or other places as well, such as like OPFS. For those who don't know, OPFS is like a private file system that is accessible for web application, where you can like store like virtual files pretty much. And the amount of storage that you can store for each website depends on the browser. Like each browser has like a way to calculate, but it can be like hundreds of gigabytes. I think maybe Safari has like a limit, or it's another browser has like a limit of 10 gigabytes. I'm not sure if it's Safari or Mozilla Firefox. But pretty much some of system like will give a limit, maybe even macOS, but for sure like multiple gigabytes. Yeah. But the other constraint that you have, if you want to keep the data also in memory, because just keeping the data like persistent like on IndexedDB or OPFS is usually not fast enough to get instant interactions. You're gonna get latency that is higher than like 16 milliseconds, and 16 milliseconds is like the bare minimum if you want to get like a 60 FPS experience. And so usually you're also keeping that data in memory as well. And for the in-memory storage, I believe that's around like a gigabyte per tab. And so you have to be careful there, like how much data you have in memory, compared to like how much data you have like in persistent storage, like on IndexedDB or OPFS. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Igor.
Thank you.
I was wondering about the business logic. Since a lot of things happen in the front end, does it mean that everything is shifting towards the browser and you pretty much strip the back end out of any business logic, anything else than the database?
It's a very good question. And I would say it depends on the solution. It definitely like move more business logic to the front end, because now the complexity of your application will lie mostly on the front end, because the logic you would put, like for instance, on like a to-do app where you need now to also update the reminders, like all of this now is pretty much present, like the data management is present on the browser. And some of the solutions of Local First, they just like replicate the database to the server. Some of them allow you to put also more business logic on the backend, because you're gonna have sometimes like some stuff that you can only do on the backend. So maybe you have like a large language model that is too big to also embed in the browser. Maybe you have some communication with like some internal APIs that you have to do. And so there's gonna be still some business logic that's gonna be only on the server, but definitely like move more of that business logic to the front end compared like to the traditional request response type of architecture. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Question about the sync engine on the database, on the backend. How do you, let's say, would it be connected to any kind of database, MariaDB, Postgres, or is it a specific kind of database?
Yeah.
And supposing you connect it to MariaDB, for instance, how do you segregate your data for a single user, such as he's not fetching data that are belonging to other users?
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, good question. So this diagram is very abstract the way. The way like the sync engine actually works will vary a lot from solution to solution. So if we look at the slide with all the solutions here, some of the solutions that we have here, I'll come back please, there you go. Let's go here, all right. Some of the solutions, they actually prescribe you to use their specific database. So for instance, if you take Instant, that's the one on the top right, InstantDB, it's kind of like Firebase. You adopt it, you adopt their database. So they manage the database for you, you use their service, and then you also kind of have like their InstantDB database on the browser. And then for defining which user has access to what, I believe they have like a permission system that is a bit better, I think, than Firebase. Like it's more flexible. I think it's based like on a permission system that was like built at Facebook, if I'm not mistaken. But then there are some other ones that actually depend on a specific database, but not their own. For instance, we have Electric SQL, which is here on the bottom. And that one works with like a Postgres database. So a Postgres database has something that is embedded into it. It's called like a replicate, forgot the word, but it's like if you can enable a setting on like on Postgres database that every time you make a change to like a table, it's gonna record that change. And then usually that's used for having like multiple Postgres database, so like they kept in sync between like a main database and a replica. But Electric SQL pretty much leveraged that to send that information to the browser. And then I believe it has some way of like configuring like that user has access to this, that other user has access to this, or even like saying, also use that the whole like access control for also like defining the partial synchronization pretty much. But every single solution will differ on this. So it depends a lot. Some of them don't even think about them like auto-merged yellow one there. It's just like a sync engine without like the database part, I believe. And so, yeah, depends a lot pretty much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is quite some new technology. Do you feel comfortable to go on production on for like big project that have already quite some users on it, or there is some frequent update, breaking change, stuff like this?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's true. The space is new. It would depend a lot on your application and how much it has to gain. For an existing application, I would say it's harder than like creating something new. I don't know. Well, actually, currently we have one company that is trying to do that, which is Notion. They didn't start like with a sync engine, but they've been now for multiple years trying to adopt like a sync engine because people have been complaining about being slow. And usually, if you have like a lot of gains from like improving the speed, I think it might be worth in the case like of Notion. I think it's worth because there might be like another competitor that brings like an alternative to Notion that is actually faster than them. The same thing that's happening now with like Linear and Jira, where Linear has like has been built with a sync engine. It took them like about 6 months early on just to build the sync engine, but after they got it ready, it's now something that they can leverage for the long run and gives them like a lot of advantage compared to their competitors. But of course, if you're like building a web app that doesn't benefit a lot from it, especially if it's like an existing app that you've been like that you would have to migrate to it, might not be worth like the risk. And for those solutions here, most of them they're very early. They're like might be in alpha, some are like in beta, but there's also this risk of like, am I also choosing the right one? Is the product gonna be deprecated? And so sometimes it might be easier to just do a custom solution. Like so far, most of the successful cases, they have been like custom solution because the solution also didn't exist. Or maybe if you don't have the skills at home, but you still want to get the leverage, might be easier to collaborate with some of this company and like do a partnership and then create together a solution and then help each other pretty much, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Igor.
Thank you.
Thank you for the talk, and I will take the lead now.
Yep.
For now. Thank you, everybody. And we'll finish this talk.
Thank you.
T'as fermé Chrome? Igor, t'as fermé Chrome?
Fermé.
Chrome.
Non.
Il est où? Ah, tu as un space.
Ça s'écrit, je crois, Keynote. La souris, elle va en haut sur l'écran.
Mais j'ai pas de Chrome surtout.
Ah, peut-être. Ça c'est fermé.
J'ai plus Chrome. Uninstalled.
Mais c'était pas sur Chrome, c'est sur Arc, c'est pour ça.
Ah,
Voilà.
sorry. My bad. Okay, so we will complete this Webmardi and we will play the count. After that, I hope you listen well because we have 3 gifts for you tonight. So yeah. The next Webmardi will be in French. It will be at Antistatic at the 1st of April. And so next here it will be about teaching the web to people. And it's a special talk because we have 5 persons on stage and will be more like a round table. You can see I am on the person on stage. Woo! Yeah. So thank you for please coming. So yeah, if you can't come, if you're interested to teach the web, or if you're just interested to take feedback of people that try to teach something, especially the web, you should come. I'm pretty sure it will be awesome. If you want to stay informed about all our events, we don't have anymore a newsletter, but we have many social networks that you can stay in touch with us. You can follow us on X or Mastodon or Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook even, or Meetup, if you want just to have a Meetup. And we still keep the registration of the seats on Meetup, so please register there if you want to have your seat for the event. The open mic session. This is the moment of the talk. Anybody can come here to say something to everybody. I know this is difficult to do. You can do it in French if you prefer to speak French to the people. I'm pretty sure most of the person here speak French. You can speak in English, obviously, if you want to. Yeah, if you want to speak about, I don't know, you're looking for a job, or you're looking for a developer, or looking for whatever in your company, or if you're looking for un stage, what's in English? Un stage? Internship. If you want to contribute to something for the open source, I don't know, if you want to say something, this is the good time to do it. If you don't have anything to say, I have something to say, but we'll leave you the time to think about it. Do you want to say something, Mark? Mm-hmm. Yeah? You want to come here? My little finger say that Mark wants to say something.
Hello everyone. I work at Antistatic, so the next place that hosts the Webmardi, and we are still looking for PHP developers. So if you didn't see already the post, go to our website antistatic.net and send us your resume.
Which framework are you using?
Symfony mostly, and Drupal, and a little bit of WordPress also for the backend side, and front end it's more about Tailwind, React for JavaScript. Sorry, no, we have
Yes, we have
two or
some.
three Laravels, and we are not close to use Laravel. Just don't have a new project with Laravel, but it's not close to use. We just have more Symfony for now. Thank you. Anybody want to say something?
Me?
Yeah. First timer.
Hi everyone. I'm working as a front-end developer, mostly with React. Also, I was doing a lot of WordPress on the Upwork. I was working like 3 years on the Upwork after I found one project, and I worked more as a front-end developer, and that's why I'm here. I had the last project here in the Montreux. It was a medical application, and I already did one stage in Lausanne with the main stack in React, and now I'm also do volunteering work for one project in Genève on the WordPress. Voilà. C'est tout. Voilà.
Thank you.
Bonne soirée.
Anybody else want to try? Nope. Come on. Yeah. I know it's difficult. Yeah, I know.
I am in the HIGVD in Yverdon, and for one of our lessons, we have to do an interview of someone that does any kind of work, and I'm interested in doing something with someone that does something about database or front end or what we just saw. And so if anyone would like to be interviewed about it, it's a course about UX, and we have to find a problem that you would have in your work life, and I would have to find an hypothetical solution to it. So it's not very long. It would just be, I think, maybe an hour and some messages, but I thought that would be a good place to ask. Thank you.
Will you stay after the talk today? Okay, so people can reach you after. You will stay too after the? Yeah, so people also can reach you. Someone just stand up right. Okay, last one, and then I have my own announce to do. The same one.
Hey, hello. My name is Vlad. I'm from Ukraine, but I ended up in Switzerland. I'm very lucky. Thank you, Igor, for solid presentation.
Thank you.
It's much better than previous. I haven't seen the previous, but I'm sure it's better. And I'm a bit Android developer, which wants to become a mobile developer. And now I'm doing a stage in La Chaux-de-Fonds. So yeah, I came up afterwards my stage. And now I'm on half run of my stage. And in my stage, I have 6 months of mobile development with Flutter and 6 months with PHP or Django, Python. I started learning Symfony, but it's crazy things. I'm not sure that I will be health afterwards. But it's interesting, of course, and of course I'm looking for the opportunity afterwards, the internship, and yeah, and I'm here because it's a new thing for me. I have never been here, and it's another world a bit because I went to mobile Webmardi, maybe you know, club meetups, and there are a lot of good presenters as well, and it's very interesting. But this subject is more familiar to me than web, but it's also very interesting to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You stay after you? Right. Thank you very much. Well, I know this is quite difficult exercise. Thank you very much for trying it. I have my own slides. Some people already saw it. Do we have on the people here people that like challenges by raising a hand? Who likes challenges a little bit? One person likes challenges. If you don't like challenges in your life, come on, a little bit. Okay, half, maybe not. And who play video games? A little bit. A little bit. Okay, come on.
Stopped.
It's okay to play video games. I play video games. And I'm proud of it. Okay. I did a game. It's called Respawn. And it's about guessing video games every day. I already told it like maybe 1 month ago. You can flash the QR code if you want to play. You cannot find it on Google, so don't try to remember it and just flash the QR code or try to remember the URL. It's with 3w.respawn.com. And every day you have to guess a video game. The particularity of the games we propose is that we have 4 kinds of games. One panorama, so 316 panorama, where you have to find the game. And then when you found it, you have to find the location on the map of that game. We have normal screenshot, so we don't have map because it's pretty hardcore to find a location with just a screenshot. We have sound, so iconic video game sound, and you have to find which game is it. And we have video, so just a short video of 7 seconds of games. We will release in maybe 1 week. I think it's already finished, but we are trying and fine-tuning it, survival mode, so it's a mode where you play infinitely, alone, by yourself, contre le jeu, versus the game. Because today you can just play once a day, and then you can play for the 30 late games we have. So you have 30 days of late guess you can do to compete with other people on the platform. You don't have too much player for now. We have less than 40% playing. So please try it so I can test it. And also we have 2,000 unique players from the start, so we start 2 months ago. And we need 5,000 persons to affiliate with GOG to have sponsorship and money for the project. So please use it so I have more visits on my website. And talk about it, obviously. You cannot find it on the web, so just remember the application. It's a local first application. You can install it. You can do whatever you want. Obviously, if you don't have internet, it's not working because we have to download the guess of the day. And we don't give you the guess of the day before the day because you could cheat otherwise. Okay, thank you for everything. Bye-bye the stream because we will do the Kahoot and we don't want to ship the gift worldwide. So we prefer to give it on this place. Who